Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have a full hour of computer and technology news, and we have a lot of great stories. Everything from Instagram for kids and why that would be an awful idea. We have some things about vertical farming and agriculture. The looming software kill switch in aging PlayStation hardware. Yep, all that and more here in just a moment. But before we get into that, everyone, computeramerica.com. That's what you need to know. Past shows, future shows, all the shows, you can check that out there. And of course, it will have, just everything that we do, be it articles, reviews, podcasts. If you can't catch us live on IRN, then that would be the second best place to catch us. And of course, be sure to check us out on twitch.tv/computeramerica as well for the live video stream. Now, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get things started with computer and technology news. So, without further ado, here we go. So I think that our first one is a little bit of an update to really an ongoing problem that's been happening ever since COVID, and that has to do with computer chips and manufacturing. And again, what kind of caused all this was an extreme shortage of chips that automakers kind of caused, where you had automakers all over the world due to COVID, and they shut down their facilities and cancel a bunch of chips, and they have since reopened back up, but of course it takes time to produce those chips. So you have this kind of compounding effect where you have previous models and current models of cars needing chips, and just that giant canceled order meant that a number of chips were not produced, which of course led to our current situation. And an update, Intel, Nvidia, TSMC, and more all agree that the chip shortages could continue until 2023. It's pretty rough because, if for some reason you don't recall, that's 2 years from now. That's crazy. They said that the nasty estimate comes from Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who offered that vague time frame to the Washington Post in an interview on Tuesday. He clarified that an estimate for how long it would take to build capacity to potentially address supply shortages, and the conversation came as Intel offered to step up two supply chains, particularly pinched by the silicon drought: medical supplies and in-car computer systems. Obviously, these manufacturing plants only have so much floor space, only have so many, only so much production capacity. It's being split among so many. And, I guess even on top of that, if you recall, way back in the early days of COVID, there was this massive rush on those respirators. And obviously, there were, worldwide shortages, and, a lot of manufacturing was repurposed for those, respirators. it's been a big problem, and it looks like it's going to take years more to really, kind of hammer out. They said that the TSMC CEO, he offered a similar dire estimate to investors on Thursday, saying that the Taiwan-based company hoped to offer more capacity for meeting retail and manufacturing demand in 2023. They coincidentally, they're moving forward with a manufacturing plant of their own, which Bloomberg claims could cost up to $12 billion. And that's really cool because TSMC is offering to build it in Arizona. TSMC is a Taiwanese manufacturing company, and they're looking to move plants into the United States. So that's actually very cool to hear, but still going to take years to do. Graphics cards and system-on-chip producer Nvidia joined the grim estimate this week, saying that they have sufficient supply to support sequential growth beyond Q1 2022, and they expect demand to continue to exceed supply for much of this year. Having seen the comment section in recent GPU reviews, which Ars Technica does a great job of those reviews, they're essentially saying that if you try to buy a console or even a standalone graphics card, man, it is a mad dash to get what little supply is out there. And of course, all this is not helped by the surge in Bitcoin mining and crypto mining, which has really, kind of dominated headlines as well, which as of the time of this reading, I'm actually curious myself. Bitcoin is currently up to $63,000. So yeah, that price just keeps going up. It's really incredible that, just a year ago you were looking at about $6,000 and now it's 10 times the price. It's hey, if you had a time machine, you'd probably go back to when it was pennies or fractions of a penny per Bitcoin. But times change. So they mentioned that there's natural disasters, exponential consumer demand, and the building of brand new facilities. Some questions remain unanswered. How will so much scaling of new factories turn out? Will they meet their construction deadlines? And will there be anywhere near as efficient as promised once the lines are opened up? So, and of course, what the author's talking about there is, of course, Intel promised to invest $20 billion in opening up new plants in the United States, in the EU, and other parts of the world to make sure that chips are being produced outside of one region of the world. Because obviously, if one region of the world, i.e. Taiwan or South Korea, were disrupted by political situations, natural disasters like tsunamis or earthquakes or what have you, or COVID, things like that, the world supply of chips, computer chips, won't be interrupted because, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But again, those facilities are going to take years to actually build, and there are companies willing to do it. It's just going to take time. And once it's all said and done, we're at that tipping point where I don't know if there will ever be a point where people are like, no, that's enough computer chips. We are quickly approaching a time when if there were truly any excess capacity to production, other markets would find a use for it, be that smart clothing, be that Internet of Things, smart appliances, smart lighting, smart home security. I don't think at this point there will ever be truly not a need for more computer chips. Our lives are now digital, and that's certainly a good thing. I'm not bashing it. I'm just wondering how, even by their best estimates, I think they're still going to fall short. That's truly how it seems to be turning out. So anyways, again, 2023, that's when you're looking at these chip shortages, or at least, extreme chip shortages lasting, which is, quite a lot. So there you go. Okay, story number 2, we can go ahead and another Ars article from Kyle Orland talking about, the looming software kill switch and the looming software kill switch lurking in aging PlayStation hardware, and of course the images of a PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. So, and they actually said even PlayStation 4 as well. They said that unless something changes, I'm sorry, this is PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation 4. I got that mixed up. Anyways, they said that in every PS4 game and all downloaded PS3 games, unplayable on current hardware. Right now, it's not a matter of if, but when this problem occurs. So they mentioned that the ticking firmware time bomb has been known in certain PlayStation preservation and hacking circles for a while, but it's gaining new attention amid Sony's recent announcement to shut down PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, and PlayStation Vita software. And while that impending store shutdown won't impact players' abilities to play and re-download previously purchased software, it does prevent them from purchasing and downloading new software, or at least unpurchased software. Essentially, development support killed. So they mentioned the problem with the CMOS batteries, the CMOS batteries, inside every PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, which the system uses to keep track of the current time, including even when they're unplugged. This actually happens in every phone and computer. That's why your system can boot right back up and tell you what time it is. It's because there is a clock within your computer. There's a clock within a clock. And replacing the CMOS battery is actually one of the troubleshooting issues. If you have, you turn on your motherboard and you get some weird BIOS glitches and things start to stutter and the computer restarts randomly. Not being able to make that handshake with the motherboard and all the components is a symptom of not having an active or a charged CMOS battery. Of course, on a motherboard, it's very accessible. In like a desktop computer or even a laptop, it's very accessible and very easy to switch. But to a console, that would be much more intricate. They said that if that battery dies or is removed for any reason, it raises an internal flag in the system's firmware indicating that the clock may be out of sync with reality, which is important, because keeping accurate time, play time, and other analytics, and of course for the system to actually kind of do what it's supposed to do, you need that constant battery power. Now, after that flag is raised, the system in question has to check in with the PlayStation Network the next time it needs to confirm the correct time. On the PlayStation 3, this online check happens when you play a game downloaded from the PlayStation Store. On the PS4, this also happens when you try to play retail games installed from a disc. The check has to be performed at least once, even if the battery is replaced with a fresh one, so they can reconfirm the accuracy of the clock. Well, they mentioned on the PS3, the timer check is used to enforce time limits that might have been placed on digital purchases, such as limited time, things like that. So they said that that check seems to be required even for downloads that don't have any set expiration date. And so on the PlayStation 4, though, the timing check is apparently intended to make sure PlayStation Network trophy data is registered accurately and to prevent players from pretending to get trophies earlier than they actually had. So not that big a deal, but it could definitely brick the software. You think that the check could be segregated from the ability to load non-trophy portions of the game, but player testing has shown that the requirement for that handshake needs to happen for the game to be playable at all, which is the issue. Now, that issue, though, saying that none of this is a huge problem for most PlayStation owners right now, and that the 10 to 20 year lifespan of your average CMOS battery is slowly running out, especially for the earliest PlayStation 3 hardware. But replacing the battery and resyncing the internal timer with the PlayStation Network is a relatively minor annoyance for the time being. But of course, what happens when the PlayStation Network is no longer supported and they don't even allow them to make that crucial handshake and to reaffirm that the time is accurate? they mentioned that Sony could render the problem moot easily with a firmware update. Thus far, though, Sony has not indicated that they plan to do that with any of them, because without that handshake, in reality, that's when you get into jailbreaking. That's when people can start, downloading ROMs and things like that without having to, make that handshake with PlayStation Networks, which they're just not really looking to do at the moment. So this is the exact same problem that you had with old Game Boy cartridge games, such as like your Pokemon and your Zelda and, so on and so forth. The earliest Game Boy games, if you open up that plastic cartridge, right inside there is a CMOS battery in there. And so, that's why sometimes you may reboot your game and it won't even come back on. Opening that little plastic case and changing out the battery, that's what kept your save data. So if you're hoping to open it back up, go on a nostalgia trip and do that, no. All the Pokemon of Pokemon Red will be dead because that battery won't be there to keep power to the system and preserve the data between, powering on and off the game. So earliest Nintendo games, don't get me wrong, replace the battery, start a new game, it would work just the same. But yeah, those old games, they're on a timer on themselves. So there you go. PlayStation, and of course, like they said, 10 to 20 years. So it's going to vary widely on, kind of when this starts to fail. But, it is a part of the system that will certainly fail at some point, I guess is the author's point. Let's talk about, there's a couple things we could definitely talk about here. Let's see. How about some fun, interesting things? LG, you may know them. Recently, they stopped making smartphones, and they're going to focus on more profitable parts of their business. How about this part? LG's Rollable OLED R TV is available in the US, if you can afford one. Yeah, so we can definitely see that. They mentioned that, let's see real quick. So with that being said, 2 years after its splashy debut at CES 2019, which, hey, I saw it myself. It was very, very cool. They had this display set up where they had like 10 of them set up in a row on the up and, on this little like ceiling and floor booth, and they would roll down and roll up at the same time, and they would kind of meet, and then they would roll back away. It was a very nice demonstration. Obviously, never would be installed like that in any other setting, but yeah, it was still a cool demonstration. 2019, they finally hit the market. And in South Korea, at least. And of course, you can have them shipped to the US. And hey, 100 million Korean, so KRW, which according to the article, the exchange rate, you're currently looking at about, again, when you purchase a TV like this, they are only making a limited amount. They are extremely research intensive. And in reality, you are probably purchasing a piece of tech history more than you are a functional TV. Now, to be clear, it would still be a very good usable television, but you are paying an extreme premium for the privilege of doing this. Just like the first projection, just like the first plasma, just like the first LCD, just like the first OLED, you are paying an extreme premium. Next year, the price of this will be cut in half. But if you want one this year, right now, right away, the Rollable OLED TV would cost you a cool... Actually, let's see. We can do this. Okay. The total price is... Wait for it. $89,000. $89,000. I did not stutter. That is crazy. For that money, you could get a 4K TV that you can take on different viewing positions depending on how much the panel you want to see. Inline view, for instance, only part of the display is visible for show at the time, weather and controlling music, and besides completely hiding the screen, It's also possible to lower it to avoid letterboxing when watching a movie. They mentioned that more prosaic features include support for AirPlay 2 and HomeKit, as well as a number of voice-activated assistants. So what they're saying there is like, a movie theater is broadcast in, let's see, what is the movie theater format? I want to say 21:9. Remember movie theaters? They were always pretty cool. Okay, so movie theater format is what resolution is movie theater resolution 2048 by 1080, which is 1.85 by 1, and other movies that do scope do about 2.4 to 1. So they're saying that, because obviously 2048 by 1080 is not exactly a standard monitor size. You have that letterboxing. You have the black bars on the upper and lower portions of your screen because it is generally more, kind of more wide format. This TV, for better or worse, will roll down so that there is no letterboxing. It will proactively adjust so that you see just the screen. The need to have that letterboxing is completely removed. Cool, I guess. I mean, it's not $89,000 cool, but hey. And then they also mentioned that inline view where the screen will roll down to, like 2 or 3 or 4 inches, not the entire size of the television, but it would only show those, kind of 2, 3, 4 inches, and it would show relevant information along that strip that it would show you. And then, of course, you could put it completely away so you don't see any of it, or have it fully exposed for a regular 4K television. Now, they mentioned that thankfully, if you're looking for a more affordable OLED, LG, of course, has one for $1,300. But yeah, it won't be rollable. And again, you are paying for a piece of tech history. One of the first times that a science fiction promise has been fulfilled. A rollable, flexible TV display. And hey, for a cool $100,000, $89,000, it too can be yours. It seems, I would say I wouldn't do it. If they want to send me one, absolutely. But no one who doesn't have that kind of money to throw away is not going to purchase that. And like I said, next year it'll be half that. In 5 years, it'll be a fraction of that. And then in 6, 7, 8 years, you will probably have access to one of these yourself. And I'm talking a more reasonable, $1,000 or $2. So just wait, your time will come. Let's go ahead and talk about, something fun. How about this? Well, fun for certain people, fun for people on the internet to make fun of, but I think that there have been so many instances of this happening in the world that, when it happens to someone in a position of power or someone famous, it's unfortunately makes headlines. And William Amos, Canadian politician, is seen naked in work Zoom call, where he apologizes, saying that he was naked in a video call with colleagues after he said that, quote, "This was an unfortunate error," and he represents the Quebec district of Pontiac, and he said in a statement on Wednesday, "My video was accidentally turned on as I was changing into my work clothes after going for a jog." So a screenshot of the incident posted on social media shows him holding a mobile phone over his private parts. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's happened to a lot of people, not just politicians, but everyday people as well. It's just, when you have that level of audience, when you are supposed to be a leader for your country, it's just so not a good look. So there you go. They mentioned that he was an honest mistake. He was embarrassed and that it won't happen again. He sincerely apologizes to his colleagues. And so He tweeted a similar response. Now, obviously, Zoom accidents have happened a lot. There was the one about the judge and, the I am not a cat meme that kind of happened. And it's the growing pains of technology and not knowing when your webcam on. Let's face it, that's happened ever since webcams became a thing. I truly don't believe this is anything more sinister than just a true accident. They also mentioned one of his colleagues said, "We have seen that the member is in great physical shape, but I think members should be reminded to be careful and control the camera." So, a little bit of a backhand compliment there, but yeah, don't let that happen. Make sure you. Hey, just like our studio here, always assume the microphone is alive, always assume the webcam is turned on. That's just, that's the way it be. Absolutely. Let's talk about, how about, I have a couple stories here that are really cool. Let's start with some rumors. And this is for an upcoming Apple event that I'm looking forward to, April 20th. The Spring Loaded event, April 20th, so just in a couple of days. This event is mysterious, but the authors from Ars Technica, Samuel Axon, saying that they're confident iPads will figure prominently. They said that Apple has announced its spring product unveiling event this week. Executives from the company will take the stage in a live stream in Apple's Cupertino headquarters, where they will introduce and discuss new products that Apple plans to ship in the near future. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm sure that, kind of research and development and new products have definitely taken a hit due to COVID. But if they can bring out something that's, truly innovative for the lines that they need it. They really have been innovative with their M1 architecture that's been in their phones, that just came to computers and desktop computers. Apple is really taking a lot on here, but there are a couple of their flagship lines that they really need to tackle, such as the iPad Pro and the other iPad series. Now, with that said, rumor has it that the new iPad Pro will come with the same two sizes as before, the 11 and the 13 inch. And they said that, well, when it comes to what's new, they're saying that they're sure to include a new system on a chip from Apple that will include an updated CPU, GPU, neural engine, and so on. And they said that we don't know what it will be designated, though A14X seems like a strong possibility given past naming conventions. Reports say it will be similar in at least some ways to the M1 processor that Apple puts on low-end Macs last year, but we don't know exactly what that means yet. And honestly, if they have the M1 chips in their phones, if they have the M1 chips in their desktop computers, it's only going to be a matter of time before they start making all of this themselves. So you can definitely believe that for sure. So there's probably going to be a refresh for the iPad mini. The story, they said that the story is better with regards to the internals, but it's worth noting that the A12 chip included in the device will be 3 years old this year. So the iPad mini is in a 3-year drought for content updates. They also mentioned that there will be a focus on the M1, and that includes bringing new configurations to the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini. If you are interested in any of these, probably have to wait until later this year, but there looks to be some product refreshes here, in the pipeline. With that being said, HomePod or Apple TV successor. So obviously we talked about this yesterday with Sandy Berger. The HomePod Pro is gone. They only have the HomePod Mini, which is the $100 value will still be there. And then, of course, the Apple TV, which has always been, kind of a Roku competitor, but where others, including Roku, have kind of innovated and added onto their service and their devices, Apple has always had this weird stepchild with the Apple TV. Well, looks like the Apple TV, and some of the rumors that we've heard from Apple TV have included speakers. And speakers, on the Apple TV itself so that you can use it as a digital assistant. And I think there was even a rumor about, obviously, let's see, what was the other thing that they were going to bring to the Apple TV? I want to say, I know it was digital assistants. They're also going to maybe put in a camera and some other things, like essentially turn it into something actually useful, because right now it's a little feature light when it comes to the Apple TV. They're also going to introduce some things about AirTags, which obviously the Bluetooth tracking devices that so many other companies have been trying to introduce. Apple wants to jump on board and try to do the exact same thing. So, but of course, it will be Apple native, Apple software, Apple hardware, and it will work seamlessly, I am sure. So, if those tracking Bluetooth chips are, kind of interesting to you for car keys, for wallets, for pets, for so many other things, then Apple will be bringing theirs out here in just a little bit. But we'll know more at the actual events, which again taking place April 20th. We'll be sure to let you know after it happens what kind of what happened. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so that story done. Let's go ahead and continue on. How about Facebook? And one of the worst ideas that I have ever heard, because there's been a lot of research that has been done, needs to be done, and kind of should be done with how do you say this? That should be done with younger kids' self-esteem, depression, and links to social media. We have a whole article, we have a whole show dedicated to the dangers, the positives, the negatives of social media. And by all regards, getting kids onto social media at a young age has been proven to be detrimental. I don't think the research is conclusive to say that, kid turns 13, get them on social media. It's great, it's perfect, it's good. Anything below that, heck no. Anything over that, heck yes. There's never been a consensus about that, but, like all things, it's how you consume it. And unfortunately, kids who are still developing their self-image, who are still developing their sense of worth, who are still developing, kind of what makes a person tick, exposing them to the likes of Instagram, where everything is fake, everything has a filter, everything is just, oh man, it's just a headache. Everything's about likes and community and audience and reach. Yeah, that's been proven to be really, really bad, because, so many people compare themselves to what they see in media, and especially more so on social media. So, real quick, 1 second. Okay, there you go. So, with that being said, Facebook, Instagram, one of the worst ones out there. They're urged to scrap Instagram for Children plan. And I don't know what it is. Don't get me wrong. Instagram is already popular with kids. There's so much to do, so much to see, so easy to share yourself and, connect with your community. Yeah, there's already a lot of kids that are hopefully over the age of 13, connecting to Instagram. But looks like Facebook is trying to go under 13. So a letter from the Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood, although I gotta say, commercial-free childhood, I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing, but here we go. Signed by 99 groups and individuals, claim that the image-obsessed platform is dangerous for children's health and privacy. Absolutely. Plans for an Instagram for the under 13 have been mooted in recent weeks. And Facebook, which owns Instagram, said it would be managed by parents, which would be completely false. I mean, parents have enough going on. The fact that you think they're going to live, their own life and try to manage everything, including the household, the kids, and, a career and all that good stuff. And then they're going to have time to monitor a second life online is just completely out of touch with reality. But hey, Facebook gets to grow their numbers. Kids are already online and want to connect with their family and friends, have fun and learn. We want to help them by doing that in a safe and age-appropriate way and find practical solutions to the ongoing industry problem of kids lying about their age to access apps. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could handle that better about, being under the age of 13 instead of just waiting for other people to report it. Now, they're saying that we're working on a new age verification method to keep under 13s off Instagram and have just started exploring an Instagram experience for kids that is age appropriate and managed by parents. I'm sure that they got this idea from YouTube, which has its own YouTube Kids, but even at the same time, YouTube is trying to make its base service more user or kind of age friendly, less cursing, less nudity, less violence, things like that. So it's a fight from both ends, and every social media has to kind of deal with it. The problem is Facebook is just categorically and historically the worst at doing it. So, yeah. Let's see. So they mentioned that we agree that any experience we develop must prioritize their safety and privacy, and we will consult with experts on child development, child safety, and mental health, and privacy advocates to inform it. We also won't show ads in any Instagram experience we develop for people under the age of 13. It makes you wonder, why are they doing it then? If they say they're not going to profit from it, they're not going to collect data from it, they're not going to do, they're going to shelter and protect these kids as much as they can, why would they stick their necks out? Why would they go this far out to kind of help this group that is not even their target audience, so they claim? I think the obvious answer there is that they will be collecting data. They will be collecting information on how to better advertise and, get these kids as a lifelong customer, hook them early. And of course, after 13, automatically promote them to the full Instagram experience. Essentially, I know the gateway drugs aren't a thing, but gateway drug them into their regular service. In March, BuzzFeed reported on an internal company post in which executives discussed plans to build a version of the photo sharing app that could be used by children who are under the legal age to join Instagram. That legal age exists to protect them from so much liability, and for them to go out here and say, you know what? All that liability that we didn't want to deal with, well, we're going to jump in head first. It makes no sense. It's crazy. Now, they said that, but children can do so by lying about their age. In the letter, the signatories point out that those under the age of 13 already on Instagram are unlikely to abandon it for a new site that seems babyish, and that the real target for Instagram would be much younger children. Gross. Much younger children have no need to be on social media. I don't know what 6-year-old needs to really connect with their peers online. It's maybe I am feeling the immediate effects of kind of being of the next generation, but man, there's according to so much research and so much literature out there, social media, there is a correlation between depression and social media and the age that you start using it. And of course, the amount that you use it. I don't know if young kids have that ability, and especially without proper parental supervision, to moderate themselves and to participate in social media and social settings, and social settings that, you could reap the positive benefits of social media. It's so questionable. Now, Josh Golan, a Campaign for the Commercial-Free Childhood executive director, said Instagram's business model relies on extensive data collection, maximizing time on devices, promoting a culture of oversharing, and idolizing influencers, as well as a relentless focus on an often altered physical appearance. It is certainly not appropriate for 7-year-old kids. as I said. But the they said that let's see. Catherine Montgomery, senior strategist of U.S. digital rights group Center for Digital Democracy, said Facebook claims that creating an Instagram for kids will help keep them safe on the platform. But the company's real goal is to expand its lucrative and highly profitable Instagram franchise to an even younger demographic, introducing children to a powerful commercialized social media environment that poses serious threats to their privacy, health, and well-being. Again, it seems like a way to get kids hooked on a product, and then as soon as they turn 13, they've grown up, they've developed habits, and not, a lot of them are not good habits. They've been essentially hooked since they are old enough to even hold a phone and start reading words, or even before that, when they could just look at pictures. They've been conditioned to use the system that Facebook has developed. It's really, really powerful what Facebook could do with this kind of thing. Now, they said that the letter cites research from the Royal Society of Public Health, which rated Instagram as the worst social media platform for youth mental health. And of course, I would say that a lot of that has to do with the idea of filters. Many of them make your skin more flawless. They make your, features more pronounced. They slim you down. Overall, I think that these filters are definitely promoting a false sense of self-image. Even when you look at influencers, like, that's one thing. Models have been airbrushed for decades. Magazines have always, have digitally altered the photos as much as they could. And before that, they just got models hooked on drugs and caffeine, and smoking to slim them down unnaturally and very unhealth-like. They've been doing that to promote a very perverted view of self-image. And now, it's one thing to have these people in magazine and media show you what they can do and what you could be like if you tried hard enough, although, again, you never could. It's another thing to have these filters that do it to you. You see your face, if you could just be that much better, if you could just do it that much differently, that alter your face. It's not even like an alter view of what a woman looks like. It's of what you as a woman look like, or you as a man look like. It's a very dangerous kind of way to go about it. So the article continues on here for a bit about self-image and pretty much everything that that I've kind of talked about. Let's see. So the only thing I want to mention here from this little part of it is that there is also unnecessary commercial pressure on children. Quoting analysts by digital monitoring agency Sprout Social, that suggests that 1 in every 3 Instagram posts is an advert, and that YouTube for Kids, which doesn't show adverts, was recently criticized for smuggling in marketing and advertising with product placement. Obviously, one of the most popular YouTube channels, and especially for kids, is that one of that one kid doing toy reviews, and of course that is paid promotion through and through. But it's not technically advertising; it's reviews. So, it's all the same thing. And trust me, as someone who works in the industry, it is all the same thing. So, with that being said, the letter was signed, and from many different groups and individuals asking Facebook to reconsider, because, hey, this is getting that younger group of kids just hooked that much sooner. And trust me, Facebook, they would definitely love to do that. Now, let's see. So there's that story. We can also do this one real quick. Twitch, I have a very fond spot in my heart because it's brought me so much joy. But like any popular platform, it's prone to bots, and looks like Twitch has finally done a little something about the bots, where they have purged 7.5 million bots that inflated views and follower counts, and that Twitch has discovered over 7.5 million bots. That's crazy. that have been inflating streamer stats, and they mentioned it has now started removing these accounts and warn users that you may see sudden decreases in your follower and viewer count over the coming days. And they said that the bots were doing actions called follow botting and view botting. The company noted follow bots can inflate a streamer's follow numbers, while the viewer bots can boost the view counts. Both stats are used by Twitch to boost a channel, increasing its chances of being discovered. Multiple streamers saw steep drops, and of course, the one of them, a very popular streamer, he lost 2.2 million follows overall, dropping from about 8.1 to 5.9 million. 2.2 million likes, and from 8.1 to 5.9 million likes. And they mentioned that another one saw an even steeper decline, losing 2.8 million followers as well, which they mentioned is about 45% of its total follower count. Other top streamers saw far less precipitous drops or even gains over the last week. So that's not any fault of these top streamers or anything like that. These bots, kind of do it for legitimacy's sake. They'll do it for attention. They'll do it for, so many different reasons that don't include, saying that these particular streamers are the reason why it happened. But, the fact that it did happen and happened so much, 2.2 million overall is pretty crazy. So they mentioned that on top of removing the bot accounts, the company said that it may also take legal action and has previously sued ViewBot sellers in order to curb fake popularity ratings. However, the company noted that we don't punish users who are victims of bot attacks, which used to be a thing. They used to kind of assume that the people who were receiving the view bots were the ones who were ordering it and asking for it, and then they view botters could then weaponize their service to get people banned, to get people in trouble when they had no fault of their own that they were view botting. Of course, taking the streamer's side as, kind of who's at fault, are you a victim or are you the one at fault? I'm glad that they're erring on the side of caution, but yeah, it's definitely a problem, and I'm glad that they're addressing it in, kind of so much. 7.5 million bots is no small amount. It's very, when I see numbers like that, especially with how big Twitch as a platform is overall, I kind of say, kind of good job, Amazon, good job for getting that many bots. Because then I see articles from the other side where I see Facebook saying that, we took down 100 pages and we got 70 of the, 70 users or 70 profiles of the most prolific people. And it's like, Facebook has like 2.5 billion users, and you're taking down 100 pages at a time and 70 profiles at a time. There is so little incentive to actually take on and take out these fake accounts and fake bots. It's 7.5 million is definitely a good amount. So I wish that their anti-bot abilities were a little bit better at time of creation. I mean, without having to run into all these problems, but better late than never. Okay, so our next story, we have time for like one, maybe two more. Our next story, another update, SolarWinds. If you don't recall what that is, it was a massive hack by what we only assumed up until now was a Russian-led attack. It had all the hallmarks. While we couldn't pin it exactly on them, it was totally their MO. And, I think they even found like Russian code in the malware that was used to exfiltrate the data out of SolarWinds. SolarWinds was the networking software and essentially the software behind the scenes for entities such as the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the top 100 Fortune 100 companies. All of them used SolarWinds, and all of them were to some extent exposed to this hack, including emails, private information, internal documents, and more. You can imagine how state-run agencies and multi-billion-dollar companies all felt about that one. This one was, again, probably up there with Equifax. It is the largest hack on the U.S. in a long time. Well, as a response, President Biden has announced that he will impose sanctions on Russia over the cyber attacks, which is pretty different. The U.S. has announced sanctions against Russia in response to what it says are cyber attacks and other hostile acts. So it's not just that, but it's certainly part of it. The statement says Russian intelligence was behind last year's massive SolarWinds hack and accuses Moscow of interference in the 2020 election on top of it. Russia denies all allegations, I'm shocked, and says it will respond in kind. So, Russian sanctions. Here we go. What is that? Denim? I don't even know what Russia imports to the U.S. I'm guessing oil or other natural resources, but still. The sanctions announced on Thursday are detailed in executive order, and they come at a tense time for relations between the two countries. Now, they say that according to Thursday's White House announcement, the new sanctions show that the U.S. will impose costs on in a strategic and economically impactful manner on Russia if it continues its destabilizing international action, which you could say ever since 2016 and a little bit before, Russia has certainly seen the benefits and reaped the benefits of launching these types of attacks. They're very quick. They're very efficient. Well, not quick. I mean, this one lasted over a year. They're very low cost and low effort for such a big payoff. Now, according to, they also mentioned that it reaffirms that the administration view that the Russian government is behind the cyber attacks and has been trying to undermine the conduct of free and fair democratic elections in the U.S. and allied nations, which, Russia has also participated in these disinformation campaigns in many parts of Europe as well. So the latest sanctions target 32 entities and officials accused of influencing the 2020 U.S. presidential election and other acts of disinformation. 10 diplomats have been expelled from the U.S., and the executive order also bars U.S. financial institutions from purchasing ruble-denominated bonds from June, which is, of course, hitting the country where it hurts, reducing their ability to borrow and lend money, which is, kind of huge for a country. So the reaction, they mentioned that, so Russia's foreign ministry called them hostile steps, which dangerously raise the temperature of confrontation. Such aggressive conduct will, of course, get a decisive response, and the U.S. ambassador has been called to the foreign ministry. The EU, NATO, and the UK have all issued statements in support of the U.S. measures. So, at least support from the EU and a little bit less support from Russia. So, with that being said, you could look at everything from ever since the new president came in, relations with Russia have been very rocky, and they made it clear that he planned to stand up to Russia in the days of the United States rolling over in the face of Russia's aggressive actions are over. They mentioned that in a report last month, U.S. intelligence officers concluded that the Russian president had probably directed online efforts to help Donald Trump win in a second term as U.S. president. Just like our previous story, to make a little, correlation there, just like the previous story with the Twitch and the view botters and the people who benefited from the view botters not being immediately, kind of taken at fault, I think Russia realized the same thing. They could benefit one side and it would hurt that same side. So they could help to hurt. And Russia was more in the business of destabilizing and stirring up controversy and conflict than it was about supporting one side or the other. We're not going to get into the politics of it all, but I truly believe that Russia is, first of all, in doing things in Russia's own interest and weakening the position in the relationship of the EU and the US and NATO in general is in Russia's best interest, and destabilizing the US is also in Russia's best interest. So, yeah, I think that Russia acted on behalf of Russia, and hey, the US is now responding in kind. So, yeah, a little bit, that's the first time we've seen a reaction from the U.S. government over SolarWinds. Such a massive hack. And again, the implications of it will be felt for years. Okay, we have time for another one. How about, hey, since we're on the topic of EU and Russia and all that good stuff, the EU also making moves with artificial intelligence. The EU is considering a ban on AI for mass surveillance in social credit scores. Social credit scores. We have a whole segment on our website about social credit scores. We did a whole hour-long segment on China and what they're doing and how currently it's limited to a couple million people, which sounds like a lot, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, population of 1.3 billion people, that is a very small sample size, but they're going to increase it and roll it out to the population at large. And don't get me wrong, that's also going to include people living outside of China as well. So even though if you never go to China, China will probably have a file on you. Now, with that being said, social credit scores, this idea that things you do, the people you interact with, you can raise it by doing good things and charitable deeds. You can lower it by defaulting on loans, not keeping personal appointments, littering on the street, getting citations, getting arrested, essentially putting a credit score, but to every aspect of your life. That's something that is currently being done in China, and the EU is looking to curb any kind of legislation that would look similar to that in the EU. So, according to the draft seen by The Verge, the draft regulations include a ban on AI for indiscriminate surveillance, including systems that directly track individuals in physical environments or aggregate data from other sources. So, that one sounds good in practice. I feel like it's already such a possibility. It's not a really good possibility because, again, the accuracy of these things are horrible, but it's quickly becoming a better possibility. And I've already seen examples of, let's say, Google. Google knows if you have Google on your device, or Apple knows if you have Apple on your device, every Wi-Fi that you connect to, the restaurants you visit, the workplaces you go to, your home and the Wi-Fi that you connect to there, the amount of data that we have seen tech companies in general be able to collect from individuals who thought they were being, kind of safe, nondescript or whatever. Your phones are just massive data vacuums. And when they say that they're not going to indiscriminately surveil people based on aggregate data, well, that applies to every company, every hardware and software company, and of course social media. That applies to all of them, and they already do it, and they do it in real time. I don't know how they're going to be able to walk that one back, but yeah, it's a proposed draft. We'll see. They also mentioned a ban on AI systems for creating social credit scores, which means judging someone's trustworthiness based on social behavior or predicted personality traits. So there you go. Special authorization for using remote biometric identification systems like facial recognition in public spaces. So essentially, the cops would have to get a warrant or something like that to be able to use the cameras that are already everywhere and track people using them. They would have to have some kind of further external permission. Okay, we'll get through these real quick, and then that'll probably be the end of the show. Notifications are required when people are interacting with an AI system, unless this is obvious from the circumstances and the context of use. I can imagine that if you are interacting with, let's say, a digital assistant that is learning, hearing your speech, developing, such as Amazon's, Google's, Apple's, whatever. They are always listening, always trying to improve, and yeah, that should be obvious. So they're saying that, a notification for that would not be obvious, but let's say you are taking a driver's license photo, which will then be used to train an AI on facial recognition. You would then have to be notified of that. That sounds like a very good idea. Okay, next one, new oversight for high-risk AI systems, including those that pose a direct threat to safety, like self-driving cars, and those that are high chance of affecting someone's livelihood, like those used for job hiring, judiciary decisions, and credit scoring. I like that one. Obviously, letting people know when something is going to inadvertently affect them. Just the more information, the better. So, now, with that being said, assessment for high-risk systems before they're put into service, including making sure that those systems are explicable to human overseers and that they're trained on high-quality data sets tested for bias. That one is currently never done. Many times we have these AIs that kind of go out and start to, that are trained as best they feel they can be trained. And then you have situations like, AIs that are inadvertently racist. You have, let's see, there was that system where CVS was putting cameras and facial recognition systems in low income and high crime rate areas, which were also highly kind of not so racially diverse. There were a lot of black and brown people. So therefore their system was biased against black and brown people, and they inadvertently started to track those individuals a lot more often. Things like that just don't currently happen. They also, last one, the creation of a European Artificial Intelligence Board consisting of representatives of every nation state and essentially a UN for AI. Also a good idea. AI should not be developed in a vacuum. It should be shared. It should be, democratized. And yeah, because right now, one of the best quote-unquote weapons, one of the best advancements a country can make is their advancement in AI. It's a hugely competitive field, not just for individuals or companies, but for countries at large. Everyone, I apologize. This was a big article to tackle. More on our website, Computer America, and of course, we'll have a link to The Verge. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.